welcome back to Pier Runners. In today's special edition, we're going to be debunking some common cruise myths.
So there's so many myths that are stubbornly resilient. These things have been here forever, like the upside down pineapple thing, and others are just broader myths that have survived in the ethos of the general public from old maritime movies and stuff like that. So we're going to be debunking some of those today.
Yeah.
So let's get right into it.
Myth number one is that cruise ships fly foreign flags to avoid paying taxes.
Yeah, so I had to do a bit of research on this. Turns out it's partly true, but it's a bit more complicated than that. So money is certainly part of it. It has to do with the labor, the way the labor is structured. It has to do with the operating costs, the regulations. So it's all this stuff mixed in together. They look for the easiest way to manage the ship, manage the staff, the payment structure. These are huge companies. There's so many employees. They dock all over the place. So they try to find the ways, make it most efficient, like tax-wise. When you see, a ship, that was built in one country and then it's owned by a company that, is officially another country, but it was christened in another country. These are all efforts from the cruise companies to make sure that they run the cheapest way that they can.
So when you see the cruise ships fly like a Bahamas flag or whatever, that means that they're following the rules of the Bahamas? How does it work?
You're still subject to US laws. You can still be subject to US Coast Guard searches if you're close to the US, or those are the ports of call or where you're permanently docked in between sailings. But yeah, there's advantages to how you hire, how you pay your staff, regulations.
So they follow that country's
exactly.
Labor kind of.
It's super complicated and they have lawyers take care of it, but they always find a way, to get the tax breaks that they need. And some countries want the business, right? So they give them tax breaks. So that brings us to myth number two. When you're in international waters, is it like a lawless place? Once you're 12 nautical miles out, is it like a no holds barred gambling, partying area?
I heard that.
Is it like the Far West? Turns out this is very false, but it's a really persistent myth that's been going on for a long time. I often even hear people mention it as jokes when you're on cruise ships. Oh, we're in the open sea now, or what happens in the open sea stays in the open sea. I've heard stuff like that when I'm on the ship. On the high seas, ships primarily operate under the rules and jurisdiction of their flag state. International maritime conventions still apply when you're in the open sea, but certain countries can take jurisdiction in certain circumstances.
That makes sense. I know that maritime law goes to all maritime ships, whether you're a cargo ship or a cruise ship. If somebody's in distress, you got to go help. If I know maritime law is across the board.
For airplanes, how, pilots kind of follow the same methodology for landing planes in almost every airport in the world. There's organizations that kind of monitor this, and there's a global set of rules for everyone. And when you're in international waters, I don't think anybody can lay claim to those waters as belonging to them, but there's still rules they have to follow. The FBI, for example, can investigate crimes that happen, in international waters if it pertains to one of their citizens. So it's actually very complicated, but it's just not a free-for-all.
So murder doesn't become legal past
12 nautical miles.
12 nautical miles in international water?
No.
So myth number three is that a ship's captain can basically marry anybody in international waters.
I've seen this one in movies. I've seen it even in a Star Trek episode, because it's a ship in space, where the captain just marries crew members.
Yeah.
It's a common notion. And there is some truth in that. A lot of cruise lines actually still offer it. The only misconception is that people think any captain can just do it. A lot of captains have an efficient kind of role and they can do it, but some captains can't do it. So it's not just because you're on a ship and there's a captain that he's going to do it and it's legal. So for example, I did a bit of research. If you go on Royal Caribbean's frequently asked questions, somebody did ask, can the captain marry me and is it legal? And yes, the captain can marry you, but it's only legal in the Bahamas, officially binding. So then you have to get home and check with your, municipality, your local government, if they uphold that wedding certificate.
Oh, okay.
And then if they don't, where you live, you have to go to, town hall and make it official again. But it is respected in some countries. You'll get back and say, look, I'm legally married in the Bahamas, and they'll just uphold that.
Okay, myth number 4 is that formal night is the captain's dinner. You hear about this on a lot of cruises. Like my mother-in-law keeps asking me, if she has to bring clothes for the captain's dinner. And I'm like, no, it's not the same thing. Formal night and captain's dinner, like the old school cruise lines, they don't have captain's dinners.
This is a holdover from old maritime tradition, and I think my mother maybe watched a few too many Agatha Christie movies like Death on the Nile, where the captain comes out and there's 100 passengers and there's one night where he eats and he lets, his second in command just navigate the ship. There's 10,000 passengers. There's no formal event where you sit down and meet the captain. There are still some cruise lines where they'll have a formal event where the captain walks around and comes in and says hi.
Yeah, or he does like a Q&A. A lot of the cruise ships do that. Like the captain sits down and people can ask questions, and it's like, and he talks about like how he navigates the ship and stuff like that, but it's not like a formal sit down dinner.
Exactly. So most cruise lines, as you well know, have an elegant night, a dress your best night. We've done that many times where we bring a suit and a really nice cocktail dress to go out for one evening. Sometimes the captain can walk around, like on an NCL ship. The captain actually happened to walk into the restaurant and he said hi and he asked us if we were enjoying our meal.
But are you sure that like captain's dinners don't exist on any of the ships?
No, they still exist. There's
okay.
one, I think, in England that still does it, Queen Mary or something like that. One of these really old school ships. But I think they tend to have far fewer passengers. And your classic, like gigantic modern cruise line, doesn't have the dinner with the captain. And if they do, maybe it's hush hush and it's for high rollers. I don't know. But for the common person who's just got a balcony stateroom and they want to eat with the captain, I don't think that happens.
Yeah, okay.
Myth number 5 is one that I've heard since I got into cruising. It's the whole upside down pineapple thing.
That's a myth? I thought the upside down pineapple was for swingers, like.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I was kind of hoping it was a myth, but yeah, there is indeed a whole pineapple thing. I think where we have to make, draw the line is that every pineapple on the ship signifies some hinted signal that you're available for a swap,
Okay.
Well, you like pina coladas.
I do.
It's not like you're subtly hinting everybody on the Lido deck that we're
swingers.
We're game. We're game.
Yeah.
There's this misconception that your average Royal Caribbean cruise ship will have a whole secret society of swingers on it.
More like Virgin, I heard. Virgin has like this really ongoing myth that there's like a lot of swingers on the cruise lines and they have these upside down pineapples.
But there's actually cruise ships that are swingers cruise ships, like the Bliss cruise ship, for example.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if you go in their
Okay.
Q&A, they're like, is this, yes, we actively encourage this.
Oh, okay,
as long as it's
okay.
consensual and, within rules, they don't mind. And they've kind of embraced it as part of their cruise
Okay.
lines thing. But to say that, like this ship or that ship is a secret pineapple cruise swinging ship, I think that's pretty far-fetched.
Okay. But the upside down pineapple does represent swingers,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. But a pineapple shirt, a Hawaiian shirt with pineapples on it, no. SpongeBob, he's not a swinger.
I heard some cruise lines are prohibiting the upside down pineapple because they don't want that reputation.
Maybe that's a conversation for another day. But if you've heard about that, it's actually true.
Myth number 6, cruising is super dangerous and people die on every cruise.
This is actually false, and statistics about this can be like really easily misinterpreted.
Okay, so people don't fall off cruises all the time?
No.
Because you hear about it on the news.
Well, the problem is how the stats are collected is you got to think, first of all, for a mode of transportation, which kind of is, there's 10,000 passengers sometimes, or 8,000, whatever.
Just on one cruise ship.
On one cruise ship for a prolonged amount of time. And a lot of the folks are elderly. I mean, people do die on cruise ship, but to say that somebody dies on every single sailing is completely absurd, and the data doesn't represent that. But one published 6-year study that followed 2 cruise ships stated that only 25 passengers died in that whole 6-year period.
Wow, that's not a lot of people.
No. And an average of 1 death per ship every 6 months, not like every sailing.
Yeah, so that's really low if you think about it. More people die from, driving or taking the train.
Well, that's another thing. That's hard to compare, let's say, oranges with oranges, because a lot of those things are calculated by kilometers traveled. So, for example, every time you see an airplane crash, everybody's like, everybody died on the crash. But if they calculate how many kilometers traveled per passenger, statistically in that parameter, it's still considered safer than driving, right?
Okay,
because people die over short distances, so it's not really compared. A lot of the deaths are just from natural causes. The CDC states that about 80% of all the deaths on cruise ships are related to cardiovascular problems in elderly patients.
Oh, I see. So they would have maybe had a heart attack anyway at home. Doesn't mean because they're on a cruise ship.
There's accidents factored into this, but most of the things are just natural causes.
Myth number 7 is that norovirus is a cruise ship disease and you're super likely to catch it when you're on a cruise ship.
Well, the truth is you can catch norovirus on a cruise ship, and it is one of the places where you get it, but cruise ships did not invent norovirus. But one thing's for sure is the media covers it extensively. If there's an outbreak on a cruise ship, the first thing they do is they plaster it all over the papers, social media, and on television, but they'll rarely talk about the outbreak at your local nursing home or at the school or at the daycare. Norovirus
in hospitals,
it's actually everywhere.
Crazy.
The CDC states that only less than 1% of all norovirus cases come from cruise ships.
Wow. So yeah, a lot of people think that because they're going to go on a cruise ship, it makes them more likely to catch the norovirus, but literally sending your kids to school, you have more chances of them bringing home norovirus than you catching it on a cruise ship.
Absolutely. Anywhere where there's crowds. It's like a statistic that it's been bloated a lot, and it gets a lot of attention in the community.
As soon as they do have norovirus on the cruise ships, they have to warn the CDC, and then the CDC makes reports on it. Honestly, if you just take precautions like washing your hands really often, maybe avoiding buffets where there's lots of people touching things.
I wonder if the move away, from a lot of cruise lines making smaller buffets, Virgin doesn't really have a huge buffet, NCL's more recent ships have smaller buffets and more spaced out. I wonder if they don't say it, but if it's an attempt to steer people away from touching, I would say that the norovirus probably spreads the most in the buffet.
I think after COVID, there was a move to really be more careful about cross-contamination and also not having people touch as many things. And I think there's certain cruise lines that do take steps. Personally, I like the move towards that. I just don't like going to buffets where everybody's touching things, especially because you don't know if those people have clean hands.
Yeah, and you have allergies. So
and I have food allergies.
Scares you.
Yeah, so for me, being served or going to a food station where they prepare the meal for you and they just hand you your plate, for me is a lot safer.
Oh yeah, far fewer people have touched and have exposed your food, your cutlery, your things. Right?
Exactly. So just take precautions just like anywhere else, and hopefully you won't catch it.
Yeah, I would just find it sad that somebody would not take a cruise for fear of getting sick, and then they'll get sick somewhere else. Myth number 8 is that cruise lines don't have, great medical facilities. They just have that nurse and a small station. So if something serious happens and you're in the middle of the ocean, you're completely screwed.
This myth is actually false. All cruise ships have medical centers with working doctors and nurses, and they can, take care of you if something like an emergency happens. They do have a lot of equipment. Most equipment that you would need to treat somebody in case of an emergency.
Yeah, the same stuff they would have, let's say, in an ambulance. So they're the first responders.
Exactly.
They'll keep you alive. They'll stabilize you. And if there's something that requires an operation, then they just
medically evacuate you, or the cruise ship will cruise to the closest port and drop you off so that you could be evacuated from the cruise ship and brought to a hospital. So they do have ventilators. They do have first aid.
The CDC even says that 95% of acute illnesses and accidents can be treated in a cruise ship.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so this image of somebody just falling over and having an allergy or having cardiac problem on a cruise ship and nobody knows what to do is completely ridiculous. There's full of people on board that can stabilize you and give you the adequate care, something comparable to what a first responder would do if you were on land.
Exactly. And the doctor is a fully licensed doctor, so he can, diagnose you properly and then send you out where you need to go for the proper care.
Myth number 9 is that people can just easily fall overboard on a cruise ship. Like this one for me is just common sense. I mean, I did a bit of research, but let's be honest. I think somebody who's sober, well of mind, and like he's not inebriated or intoxicated or whatever, it's next to impossible to fall off of these things unless you're really up to no good and you're doing shenanigans. The railing on any of these balconies is like 42 inches off the ground.
Yeah, so these are regulated heights to make sure that people don't fall off cruise ships.
Yeah, if you know anything about physics, the bar comes up to here. You'd have to have so much momentum for you to tip over.
Yeah.
Nobody's that top heavy unless you have a giant melon of a head.
Climbing up on furniture and really sitting on the rail.
That's not to say that statistically there aren't people who fall overboard. We see it all the time.
Yes.
A kid falls over and a dad jumps into the open ocean. Yeah. Unless you're taking a selfie on the railing, which we obviously don't recommend.
No.
Or you're doing something like that. Or, so the worst thing, you'll see every once in a while they put their kid on the railing to take a picture. So because he's short, it's the worst imaginable thing you could do.
Yeah.
It just offsets all those safety measures they've taken.
Yeah, you are falling from an extremely high, deck level. Like this is like 20 decks sometimes, or 15 decks high.
So you're saying from the lower deck you potentially survive, but from a higher deck it's like hitting you pick up so much speed. It's like hitting
concrete.
I do this position, but I still hit with my stomach first. So
I don't think that's the best position to jump in if you're gonna hit the water. I think it's like straight down. Yeah. If you do survive, if you're very close to the cruise ship, I heard that like the motors can pull you under and stuff. Myth number 10 is that cruise ships don't have enough lifeboats for all the passengers on the cruise ship. Kind of like the Titanic.
Yeah, we've all seen that scene where Rose is on the deck and she's like, I've noticed that my calculations, there aren't enough lifeboats for the passengers. You missed nothing, Rose. Basically that's something that's all been permeated in our head. We're all kind of traumatized by that movie. But the truth of the matter is it's not just about the number of seats on those things. Apparently you have to have 125% life-saving capacity per person, but it's not all about those boats that you see, those orange boats you see hooked up to the sides.
Yeah.
Those have a certain number of passengers, but there's also inflatable rafts. They air evacuate some people. There's all these different things that they do, but they have to have a way of saving everybody on board. SOLAS requires passenger ships to carry a regulated life-saving appliances, including lifeboats, rescue boats, life jackets, and other survival craft.
Okay.
So it's not just the orange ships, but they do have a place for everyone on the ship.
They have to follow maritime law, so all ships, not even cruise ships, have to do this.
Well, yeah, exactly. And so the regulations are kind of like broad, and there's different agencies that monitor that. U.S. Coast Guard, for example, states that you have to have 125% life-saving capacity for the number of passengers, but they say that you have to have at least 75% that fit in those orange lifeboats.
Oh, okay. The orange or yellow
So
lifeboats.
you could have 100% that fit, but by law they need at least 75%.
Okay, I see.
When somebody says, I saw those orange things, there's no way that fits 6,000 passengers, well, they're forgetting about the inflatable ones, they're forgetting about all the extra mechanisms, crafts,
and those things are pretty big, those lifeboats. Like, I saw videos of like whole crews, like when they do drills, because they have to do drills all the time, where the whole crew goes onto these lifeboats. They're huge. They can fit quite a lot of people. So I think it's a misconception about how small they are.
They look deceptively smaller than they actually are, because you see them next to that giant ship and you're like, there's no way. But yeah, they fit a lot of people. Myth 11 is that in a ship evacuation, it's always women and children first.
It isn't?
No, I mean, not by law. Okay. Maybe there's some form of old-fashioned gallantry, that we've just kind of like chivalry or whatever. Men are supposed to be brave, but there's no rule that says that. Everybody knows that in a modern cruise ship, I mean, when there's an emergency and you have to evacuate the ship, everybody has to report to their muster stations, and then they get directions on where they have to go to evacuate together. But this whole notion, women and children first, is something
it's like old school.
It's very old school. I mean, I watched the Costa Concordia documentary with you recently.
Oh my God, that was
and it
terrifying.
terrified me. They couldn't access all those life-saving vessels, and you know they had trouble. Some people were offering their kids because they weren't able to get on the ships themselves.
Yeah, I saw that. It was really
I think
sad.
it's a human instinct to protect, you know,
The children and the women
and
first.
the elderly, whatever. So and men, I don't know. Like we have this thing. I'd like to think that if there wasn't enough room, I would let you get on with the kids and I would just wave.
Well, I think you would. But would you do that for somebody else's kid? I would. Personally, I'd get off a ship to let a child onto the ship.
Like nobody ever knows how they're going to react in
Right.
an emergency situation. It's like, you know, fight or flight. But this is like, you know, it's also been pushed by movies and
Yes.
popularized by Hollywood. And I think it actually does happen in emergencies. A lot of men are just, you know, they're built that way.
But don't worry, if you're a guy and the ship is sinking, you're allowed to get onto the lifeboat first. So don't worry.
No, when they call you.
Myth number 12 is that once a cruise ship is in international waters, it can basically dump whatever it wants in those waters, like waste and stuff like that.
You know, I was surprised to learn that this one is false, but there's some truth in it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, this is where I'm surprised. I thought, no way.
You have to already make a difference from just the notion of a ship, you know, getting 12 nautical miles away and then just dumping raw sewage, you know, into the thing. All these modern cruise ships, as you told me yourself, you know, they have these modern processing, you know, they reuse their
Filtering
water,
systems.
they filter, and even the waste is highly, you know, cleaned up before it's actually dumped. But you can offload sewage in the ocean after 12 nautical miles and like when you're far enough from countries, but there's super like stringent circumstances, like, you know, and parameters. You can't just dump the whole thing in one area. So what they do is they let you dump a certain amount of waste as you're moving.
And this waste has been cleaned.
Yeah, exactly. So there's like quotas on, you know, and the quality of the waste they dump, but as they go, so every knot they can dump a certain amount of volume.
Well, there you go. I did
raw
not know
sewage.
that. Especially the newer cruise ships, like they all have filtering systems, so they reuse all the water on the cruise ship. Like they'll filter it out and then you drink that water. So like even sewage water will be cleaned and then that is completely filtered out and reused on the cruise ship.
I don't know if it's sewage water or if it's just water, let's say from your faucets, maybe not from the toilets. I
don't know how it works,
there's
but I know that
laws.
it's like cleaned, like almost like a city facility cleans their water.
I mean, I drink out of the tap in the stateroom all the time. So that was interesting about the sewage, right?
Yeah. Why are you eating a banana?
Because of our next segment. So the next myth is related to bananas. Do you know that bananas are considered bad luck on ships?
On cruise ships?
Ships in general.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I did not know this.
This is
So
one of
explain
those,
it to me.
This
Why?
is one of those more old-fashioned ones.
Let's see. Why are bananas bad luck, John?
This is just one of those silly old maritime ones that's been in the folklore forever. It was considered an unlucky fruit. So this, I think it goes all the way back to old British naval vessels
Sailors
and stuff like that.
stuff?
Yeah. So now, unlike, let's say, lemons or limes that can protect you from scurvy, which were probably regarded as a very lucky fruit, bananas, for some reason, were just considered unlucky.
Really? Just out of the blue, like there's no explanation why?
I didn't exactly...
Kind of like mermaids.
Exactly. It's got some... I don't think there's any truth to it. Obviously, there's bananas all over cruise ships, on the buffet, you know, at the fruit breakfast thing. But I would be really disappointed if this was...
If it was true?
If it was true.
Well, I've eaten bananas on cruise ships and I've never had bad luck.
Myth 14. This is a super popular one, is that the captain has to go down with the ship if it's sinking.
Really? But I heard about that whole Costa thing where they were like sinking and he went off the ship before even his passengers had time to evacuate and he's in jail now.
So this is the whole thing. This is one of, this is one of the incidents that brought the whole myth back to the forefront. And it's really something that's ingrained in us. You know, we've all seen that scene in Titanic where the captain's like, you know, in that
Goes
room,
down
he's like,
with the ship.
and the water comes in and he's just like, he can't face the media or anybody. And he knows all the people are dying. He stays there. And we all have this concept of the noble captain who stays days. But the truth of the matter is the captain is responsible to make sure people are evacuated safely off the ship. But there's no rule that he has to go down
Oh,
with the
okay.
ship.
So once the people evacuate, he can get off the ship.
There isn't even a rule that he has to be the last one off the ship.
Okay.
He just has to oversee it. He's responsible for everybody who's on there. Obviously, it's disgraceful for the captain to be the first one off and to just run away. I think what happened with the Costa Concordia incident is that he got off.
Well, he lied too to the Coast Guard. He said that the ship, that they didn't need help, and then he waited until the ship was listing before he told people to evacuate.
Oh, the whole thing was a tragedy.
Yeah.
But many years, in debates in court on that case itself, I mean, his lawyer said there is no rule.
True.
Look in maritime law, there is no rule that says that you have to stay on the ship. So that was one of the counts I think they couldn't lay on him. They could say he was negligent.
Yes.
Yeah, and he went to jail. But like to say that the captain has to, I mean, I think the captain should be the last one off.
I think that the captain has to take measures to make sure that his passengers are safe, but after that, he can get himself off the ship. It makes sense. Yeah, the captain shouldn't be the first one off.
No,
Definitely
absolutely
not. And it shouldn't happen like the Costa. Like if you have a captain like that, that's scary.
Obviously, cowardice as a captain is not a trait that you want to associate, to somebody who's responsible for so many lives. But this is a myth that's probably going to persist for a really long time, despite what we say today. This is one of my favorite myths. This is an old-fashioned one, almost as silly as the banana, is that women are bad luck on ships.
What?
Well, I know that Alex is good luck for me. But maybe,
I better be.
Maybe some women are bad luck. So basically, unless a woman...
Oh, but this must be like from the 1800s or something like that.
But ships, it's really funny because this is the irony of the whole women being bad lucks on ships, is that if a woman is half nude and sculpted and, is a figurehead on the ship as a mermaid, that's good luck. But a human woman alive on the ship is bad luck.
Well, back in the day, not anymore.
Nah, I know, but I think it still persists on even some shipping cargo ships and stuff like that.
Really?
We've all seen swashbuckling pirates and movies, Pirates of the Caribbean, they mention it a half dozen times.
It's bad luck to have a woman on board too. Even a miniature one.
I even saw a vampire movie recently, The Last Voyage of the Demeter was a vampire movie.
Yeah, but isn't that set in the olden days?
It is, but they have a vampire eating people on the ship, but they keep blaming the one woman on the ship.
Of course they
do. But it's funny because ships are often named after women.
The most beautiful name in the wide world.
Yes.
We always refer to a ship as a she.
Yeah.
The ocean is a she. The sea is a she. Storms are she's. But women on the ship, that's no good.
Yeah, of course.
So typical, old
well,
school
that's
behavior.
definitely a myth, guys. So that women are bad luck. So
You're bad luck. I'm gonna have a lot of bad luck because I bring you on all my cruises.
you better.
So that wraps up our myth debunking video. If you can think of a really stubborn myth that has endured that we forgot to list, please let us know in the comments. And also if you have some fact checking or some corrections for us on our research, we'd love
Leave
to hear
it down in the comments.
Yeah,
guys.
we'll debate and we'll check it and we'll adjust and do a rebuttal
Yeah.
at worst. So thanks for joining us for this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you subscribe, like the video, and hit that notifications bell.
Thanks for watching, guys. Happy cruising. Bye.
Oh, I really wish I'd gotten a more yellow banana for this.
It looks kind of green. Is
need
it
it.
all pasty?
I needed it for my bit.